Hello and welcome to the one-shot show where GMs go to level up. I am Paddy and I'm joined here today by a sad member of the village of Lowfallow, which is just east of the Braggadock Peaks. It's a rainy, small town. They eel fish in the local marshes. What's the name of your character?
My name's Aloysius Creevy.
Aloysius Creevy.
I've been working these turnip fields for last 30 years since me pa passed on. Nice. He worked him his whole life before me.
Nice. Aloysius, what were you doing on the day the giants came?
Well, we're between harvests, so mostly tended to repairs around the farmstead. Had some fences that had got a little bit old and rattered in the north fields, and, well, that'll be where I spotted him, coming down the mountainside.
And it's around here that you'd hit your music and it would play and then you'd wind up on in. And this player doesn't know that they are coming to this table to play Aloysius Creevy. Aloysius Creevy? Mm-hmm. They don't know they're going to play that character. They've got their level 8, superpowered, beautiful, heroic fantasy character good to go. But we're trying a little something different. We're trying a gimmick opening. We're starting in a way that is going to give our players a little bit of a frisson, a little bit of joy at the beginning because they won't know what's coming next. How was that for you?
Luckily, I'm a good improviser.
You're a lovely improviser.
And look, there's a lot of fun to that. There's sort of on the spotness. But now, see, I get the distinct impression, Paddy, and correct me if I'm wrong, you play with a lot of actors.
I do play with a lot of actors. In the case that I ran this one, it was with 2 actors, 2 non-actors. We'd set up a beautiful map in front of us that was a ruined town. Went all in on this one in terms of like the mini value of it. And they did know at the outset, we're going to start in the town, and you're not going to start as your character. You're going to start as a townsperson for only 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning. And then through a teleport spell, the heroes arrived just as the giants were arriving into town.
Now, see, that I play with a bunch of grognards, so that probably wouldn't work at my table.
Would the grognards fight back?
They hard to say. Depends on how well they go along with it. But we're talking obviously about we're calling them gimmick openings.
A playful opening, a way that goes against the grain, against the norm, something that surprises.
Exactly. And there's actually a lot of very standard ones that you might already know about straight off the top of your head. Any story that is told in medias res is a classic example of this. Quite a ways back in the show, we did talk about starting campaigns, as in like how to sit down, do that session 1, what it needs to do for you. And sort of had this little asterisk toward the end about more sort of high concept openings, these gimmick openings. So we're wanting to actually dedicate a whole episode to that now, in some examples of them, how to utilize them, why you might want to utilize them, and what they do for you. And one of the things you've already fantastically highlighted that your particular example did is it throws a little bit of a curveball to the player. So immediately their brain is a bit more active. They're a bit more, they're thinking quite actively about the world and probably getting just that little bit more invested in the world. So in that particular example, where what I've actually got rolled up has yet to arrive on the scene and they're about to teleport in and deal with these giants, I'm now very invested in what happens to that town because just for that brief moment, I was a townsperson. And then I imagine somewhere down the line in the fight, you, the GM, are going to say, you see an old farmhand running from his tattered old fence, calling out, they're coming! And I, who was just being that guy, I'm going to be like, oh my God, that's Aloysius Creevy. I've got to save Aloysius Creevy.
It was a pretty good way to start against the giants. They were pretty into the idea of saving Cormier after that beginning. Yeah, it was gorgeous as well because we had, in that particular instance, it was with it was a group of experienced players. Mm-hmm. We knew that we were playing a classic module. They knew it was against the giants. They knew that they were going to be fighting hill giants, frost giants, and then fire giants. And I really wanted to, at the beginning, establish that this may be a game, this may be a module written in the 80s by Gary Gygax, but we're still going to tell it as a story. Mm-hmm. And that was my intent behind that one. What gimmick openings have you run in your time when you think back? And why did you run them?
Well, oh goodness, I really am just. I'm going to talk about the Odyssey, right? So when
have you done a dedicated episode about the Odyssey?
Not yet.
We need to purge it from your system. We need to lance the boil.
I actually think what we need to do is wait until I've talked about it enough that an Odyssey supercut takes 15 minutes.
Oh, it's already there.
Yeah, probably.
Surely.
But I actually think I talked about this on the show previously. That the sort of Odyssey style campaign that I did. The concept of this campaign is you're on this derelict ship. You try to get home to safe harbor. The start of that campaign started out like a very standard. You're a group of mercenaries. You see this thing on the job board. It's the merchant caravans are being ambushed along the roads. Go deal with that. They go deal with that. That is a small little band of goblins that have been raiding the caravans. They dust that off, and on their way back to the settlement, they see it has been set ablaze by a massive orcish raid. You are now out in the middle of the open, in one of the more hostile plains lands. Like, this is known as a dangerous place. This outpost was like the only form of civilization. And you see in the narrow, icy straits just by the outpost, 2 ships limping away from the harbor. And immediately the players are like, well, that's our only out. And they signed up for the Odyssey, so they go flag down the ships and, try to get aboard them, right? That's how we did this. Now, they only knew that they were signing up for the Odyssey. So when they show up and we're just, dusting off some goblins off a job board...
They're waiting for the queue.
Yeah. And it didn't happen until the end of Session 1. The whole Session 1 was a standard hack and slash.
The opening credits, the title credit doesn't land probably until they see those boats and they're on the way down the hill.
Exactly. And there's a little bit of a kind of fun cold open to that. There's another really classic one that is probably something that everyone's already had on their mind the whole time since we started talking about this. A lot of video games will do things like this. You come on in, you've got a little bit of a tutorial-y thing, and then you have the unbeatable boss fight. Right? It is by design something you're never going to win.
Yeah.
And that happens, you fail the fight, roll opening credits, and then the whole game happens in the context of that failure. And at the back of your mind, you're like, the end of the game is probably going to be fighting that same boss in some capacity. A classic D&D version of that is you roll up, you've got your high-level characters, you are fighting the world-ending threat, you fail, you die, you are sent to the depths of hell as a level 1 character. You're going to fight your way back out.
Back up.
Exactly. Up through all the layers of hell. You're slowly going to regain your strength and level up and make unlikely allies along the way to eventually readdress this threat. It's a classic one. The die in Session 1 thing. We actually talked a little bit about that, weirdly enough, in the TPK episode.
Yeah.
Which is, sometimes the result of a TPK is you fight your way out of hell. Well, this is when you do it on purpose.
And in some ways, like, going back to that, like, I mean, when does your gimmick opening end is curious. 1 session sounds beautiful. You could also use that as a way out of a TPK. Is that like, this was the prologue, now we land the actual story on top.
Especially if it happens super early. We talked about it in the TPK episode, how deadly level 1 encounters can be. Like, it might have even happened by accident. And, like, you as a GM can just sort of, pull the curtain and wave your hands and go, aha, I planned it like this all along. Concept opening.
What are concept openings for you? The classic opening is the tavern. Yeah. What are the twists on the tavern that come to mind for you?
Oh, there's so many ways you could take it, right? There's, I mean, one of the ones I've always had at the back of my mind, I haven't had a chance to do it, is the tavern that is the crossroads of the multiverse, right?
Yes.
It's
the Wild Magic Tavern, which is a shameless plug, is the name of the little triumvirate of people who produce the podcast that I'm a part of, and the Wild Magic Tavern sits at the heart of that. I know that is my mate Tom Eason's big. That's his white whale. It's the Wild Magic Tavern,
and it's so much fun, right? As a concept, because it's like wherever it happens to be when you step out the front door. it's going to be this totally different world, this totally different environment. The laws of physics might even be fundamentally different. There's no limit to how wacky that concept could get. Like, maybe each session is a different system, right? Like, you could do so much with that, or like each sort of mini arc as you're dealing with, you step out the front of the tavern, you're in some random different town, and there's a job board, and you take a job off the board. And then the next arc is, you step out of the tavern and its front is now a seedy dive bar in a sci-fi planet. And there's, this digital bounty board that you log one on and, try and hunt down the guy and claim the bounty. And then, like, the next one, we're actually going to play the Fallout role-playing system. And, there's no limit to what you could do with that.
Yeah, I love that.
That's the real big Gimmick tavern opening.
I've always wanted to do, because I'm a big murder mystery fan, but I haven't had the wherewithal yet to go, like, can I truly bottle the murder mystery as a game form? And I would love to do it's arrive in the tavern, but then the tavern is shut down by the cops or a mage who seals it shut, and then it becomes the murder mystery inside the tavern, and it's fully locked into that environment for maybe the extent of a reasonably long campaign.
I think if you wanted to really go all out with that, truly, is you have, your 5 players, let's say it's 5, they show up, they're in the scene with all the other kooky NPCs, and then in the middle of the night, you hear a blood-curdling scream just down the hall. You run down the hall. It's the room belonging to the rogue that you took supper with. The rogue character is killed off. The player knows this is coming. They're in on it. They haven't told anyone else. They know that they're going to get killed off.
Why are we doing this on air? Turn off the cameras. Turn off the recording.
Let's just play it. Let's play it. It sounds great, but I mean, that's to take it to another level of that Gimmick opening.
Wait, is that player then coming in as the detective?
Maybe. Or they get to pick one of the other random NPCs. There's so many ways you could do it. Or if you really want to go all out on the concept, they don't show up for any other sessions.
Oh, yeah.
And look, I've had games where, if I've had a player had to leave because their life gets busy, I've had instances where they've come back in for like a mini arc of a couple of sessions with a guest character, effectively. You could do that, right? You could totally do that. And if it's somebody who's really committed to the bit, they're like in the group chat with everyone, pretending like they're joining this campaign for real. Yeah.
I love these. To be honest, beginning campaigns is my favorite time. I love the setup. I've
got bad news about the 3 years that follow.
I know. I love the 3 years too, but I do love pouring all of the secret sauce into, like, what's going to be the first moment, what are going to be the first words, what's going to be the first track of music that takes us into that space. I think it's a moment to give a lot of thought to, especially with experience tables. But equally if it's your player's first time, I would pour some love into it and consider that to go, how will I make this opening special in some way? To really make sure that those players feel seen in their characters, or the stakes of the world are laid in. It's your statement piece.
Yeah.
Like, it is like the, Game of Thrones, every book begins with another character disconnected from the first characters, and you start there, you learn something about the world, and then maybe you wind your way back to it. Have you ever done a flashback?
The sort of in medias res approach, like a little bit, not all the way. It's often a part of my opening sessions regardless, because that opening session, and again, we've talked about this in the past, if you go listen to the campaign on openings, that first session has to do a lot in terms of, establishing the characters and why they're there and how they've all arrived at this place. And you actually have to do quite a lot of legwork ahead of the time with the players to explain away why everyone happens to be at this tavern or this border fort or on this ship or whatever it happens to be. And then you throw the thing at them that kicks it all into gear and sets the campaign in motion. Really, these Gimmick openings, you're still having to do all of that. It's just that the thing that is kicking the campaign into gear is something that totally changes what would be the perceived direction. If it's, hey, you're all aboard this ship, it is a ship that is, taking passage to the new world, and then halfway in the middle of the night, you're all awoken by the ship running aground, and then the whole ship turns to sludge, and you are trapped in the Feywild. not the campaign they thought they were getting. Totally different beast, right? You got to be careful how you lay that up.
Absolutely.
Because if your characters had these really your players had these really intricate characters that were going to go be frontiersmen in the new world, and now they don't get to do that, they're doing this other thing, it might frustrate them a little bit. But if you really want the gimmick to land, there still needs to be an element of surprise. It can be quite hard to find the balance of that as a GM.
I'm fascinated by this. I know that we're approaching time, but another topic has sort of come to my mind, which is the idea of the first time you roll initiative, the first time that you land into conflict, where that goes, how that moment feels, because that's a second beginning. Most TTRPGs have two modes, eh? We're in the mode of the storyteller, and then all of a sudden, the mode of danger. We're pivoting into the more board gamey element, and the danger element will creep up. And I feel like, actually, you might not have one gimmick opening, or you might not have the opportunity for just one opening, but for two big establishing moments. The beginning of the story, the beginning of initiative, and maybe it's both at the same time.
And what those two things are doing for you on a very functional narrative layer is... first part of that is, why is everyone in the same place? You're just creating a common reason for this group of people who are your players' characters to all be in the same place within the game's world. And then the second piece usually is giving them a reason to then actually band and stay together in the longer run. And then often I find there's actually a third one that kicks in there as well, where, okay, they're all in a tavern, it gets raided, the town gets raided by bandits. Our, plucky heroes band together and help defend the town. Step 3 is then the mayor says, hey, we could use some handy adventurers to deal with some of the threats around town. I'm happy to put you on the payroll if you can help deal with that. And now we've got even more of a reason to stay together. And as you say, every single one of those things is an opportunity for a sharp left turn to be introduced if that's what you want to do. Step 1, meet in the tavern. Step 2, bandits roll into town. Step 3, the mayor accuses the player of being in on it. Now they're on the run being accused of banditry across the whole empire. Who's going to take him in? Probably the roving band of bandits. Now we're playing a totally different game than the one we thought we were playing. Every single one of those points is an opportunity to take that left turn.
A moment of endless possibilities, that beginning.
Exactly. Well, that has done it for this episode of the One Shot Show. Truly 17 minutes of endless opportunities, as you say, and we will see you in the next one.
Ciao.
If you like what you just heard, feel free to support us on Patreon. Every little bit helps. Go to patreon.com/OneShotShow.